Nature has never read any constitution, so it often makes us humans unequal. But ever since we evolved into Homo sapiens, we gained the ability to think, to understand and to appreciate the beauty of the surrounding world. So today I'm going to take you to a place which is located in the Podkarpackie Voivodeship, and it's famous for its primeval beech forests and natural exuberance. A place where you can escape from the modern world. So, where am I? This forest and this park is an unbelievable example of nature in its best form. But why is this place so unique?
The value of this area comes from the fact that it used to be considered worthless. You could compare it to a bone left over after a meaty meal. The forest that once grew here in its natural primeval form was gradually eaten away by people. They took the tastiest bites. The flat, fertile areas were cleared and turned into farmland. The more remote parts, with poorer soils, were where beech and sycamore grew, trees less valued for timber, and thus they remained untouched for a very long time. This was simply because this part of the Bieszczady Mountains lay far from trade routes and transportation networks, making those woodlands difficult to reach.
Humanity built museums to honor its past. Nature builds living museums to honor its present. And I would be far more optimistic about the bright future of man if he spent less time trying to prove that he can outwit nature and more time trying to enjoy its beauty and respect its seniority. How many years ago did this forest begin?
Our Bieszczady beech forests began around 4,000 years ago, according to pollen analysis. That's when the story of the beech in the Bieszczady started, though not yet the beech forests as such. The beech trees first replaced other tree species like spruce and elm. The beech has certain traits that give it an advantage over other trees. It tolerates shade. It can grow in the shadow of large old trees, quietly waiting for its chance. When one of those trees falls, creating a gap in the forest canopy, the young beeches waiting on the forest floor race upward, reaching for the light to claim their place in the canopy.
We can count the history of Poland as a country in centuries, humans in hundreds of millennia, but Bieszczady date back to millions of years. And just as human race evolved, so did the nature around it. And here, in the Natural Museum of the Bieszczady National Park, we can observe those realities intertwining. For example, the remains of the woolly mammoth who'd walked the earth 250,000 years ago. Captivating. Nothing says unique more than being positioned on the UNESCO's World Heritage List.
This is a UNESCO site spread across Europe in the form of 93 separate beech forest patches. These beech forests differ in almost every way, in their geology, climate, and biogeographical region, but they share one defining trait: a high degree of naturalness, meaning minimal human influence on fundamental processes like tree death, regeneration, and growth. The European beech, Fagus sylvatica, grows only in Europe, nowhere else in the world. During the Ice Age, it survived in the mountains of the Apennine Peninsula, in the warmest areas, and from there, slowly recolonized the continent. It reached the Bieszczady after a journey that took around 8,000 years. We know this thanks to records not written by human hands, but by traces of pollen preserved in raised bogs, which we also have here in the Bieszczady, protected within the Bieszczady National Park.
The journey of trees must be a long journey because they cannot walk, and yet they move.
Every tree species has its own way of spreading its seeds or fruits. Some rely on the wind, but the beech belongs to a group known as barochoric, or heavy-seeded species. When a beech nut falls from its casing, it usually lands right beneath the parent tree, perhaps a dozen or so meters away. But beech nuts are delicious, rich in fats and nutrients, and small mammals like mice, dormice, and squirrels love them. As they feed, they also carry the seeds away, helping the tree spread. So the biological step of the beech, meaning how far it can naturally move or spread each year, isn't as small as it might seem. On average, it's estimated to be about 10 to 20 meters per year. Much depends on chance. On those squirrels or birds that transport the seeds, sometimes across surprisingly large distances.
10 to 20 meters is a small step in a journey of a man, but it seems like a huge step in a journey of a tree. But it's not about pace, it's about persistence, because nature is very consequent. And we should remember our old Polish saying: nie było nas, był las, nie będzie nas, będzie las, which means we weren't here and the forest was. We will no longer be here and the forest will be. In 2021, Bieszczady National Park became the UNESCO World Heritage Site as an extension to ancient and primeval beech forests of the Carpathians and other regions of Europe. And even though the stunning beauty of this region remained exactly the same, it helped promoting this gem across the world. And it should be done, because as we all know, nature is the master of talents, and genius is the master of nature. Bieszczady National Park was opened on the 4th of August 1973. Why do we need such places?
National parks are truly special places in Poland. They belong to all of us because they are national. The 1980s and 1990s were an especially important time. Poland was undergoing great social change. Solidarity had come to power. And one of its key demands was the creation and expansion of national parks. It was on this foundation that the Bieszczady National Park gradually reached its current size, almost 30,000 hectares, becoming the largest mountain national park in Poland.
Once you get here, it seems obvious, but let's try to describe it for the people who haven't been here. What is so special about Bieszczadzki Park Narodowy?
This park is unique because when you walk up to the Polonina Ridge and look around, in almost any direction you see no signs of human construction. In Central and Western Europe, there are very few places like this left. That's what makes it so special.
Bieszczady are powerful and strong, and yet they can be a bit moody. So capturing their essence is not easy, because it becomes a dance with light and the weather. But it instantly takes you to a place within, a place from where you can appreciate their beauty. Why do we need to draw borders? Why do we need to establish that this is a national park? Why can't we just coexist with nature as humans?
We have to protect it because we also need to leave space for animals. We try to make our conservation measures as gentle as possible without disturbing the landscape. Setting boundaries and limits is crucial. And I'd even say it's easier to do that when the park is large, because you can designate certain areas for tourists and others for the protection of wild nature, where animals can live freely without human contact.
I'm so glad to hear that this anthropocentric attitude or approach does not prevail here.
It's a good sign when there are bears, wolves, deer, wildcats, and lynx. These animals need space, and they need natural forest. But we, too, need that natural forest, because it holds what we seek today. Our task is to preserve such places.
We are talking about so many amazing elements of this national park, but it was the ancient beech forest which made this park to appear on the UNESCO's World Heritage Site list.
We really cared about obtaining this title. It's an honorary distinction given to areas of exceptional natural value. In 2021, we managed to secure it for 4 forest complexes, or about 11% of the Bieszczady National Park. These are truly remarkable places, located between 800 and 1,100 meters above sea level, usually near the headwaters of streams. They've always been far from human settlements. By joining the UNESCO list, we became part of a community of 18 countries that share this World Heritage status. Now the challenge is to come together and discuss how to protect these forests in the era of climate change and how to safeguard these remnants of primeval nature.
What about tourists? You must meet people who have been following the path of the UNESCO's World Heritage list.
The number of visitors to the park is significant, around 700,000 people a year. The fact that it's a World Heritage Site matters to them. For instance, our Nature Museum now attracts tourists from across Western Europe.
Do you think that our Polish saying drop everything and go to Bieszczady may be an effect of our craving for peacefulness in nature?
Yes, that's probably the reason why here, people can still find peace and silence. Places where you can stop, reflect on life, and let nature help you do it. Such places still exist.
If a sunny day is a condition for your happiness, then you should think twice before coming here, because the weather in Bieszczady is absolutely unpredictable. But here, sunshine is delicious. Rain is refreshing, wind braces us up, and snow is exhilarating. So here, there isn't such thing as bad weather. There are simply different kinds of good weather. Ready for more UNESCO? Drop everything and move to Bieszczady. Easier said than done, because Bieszczady are majestic, spectacular and alluring, but they are also powerful, challenging and demanding. Visiting them as a tourist, you can partially grasp the idea of their nature, but sometimes even just one visit can trigger you to fall in love with this amazing place. In my youth, I read Shakespeare, Dante, Boccaccio, and you read London, May, and Kerwood. How did these books influence your life?
Będąc młodym człowiekiem, czytałem też i Boccaccia.
When I was young, I also read Boccaccio and Shakespeare. But what fascinated me most were the books by Jack London and James Oliver Curwood. Maybe those stories influenced me in a way that they made me want to find out for myself if what they wrote was true, to see whether a person could really survive alone in the forest, without much help, as it's impossible to do it without any help, even in the forest.
But you yourself proved that you can actually survive in the wild, because in the 70s you came here on foot.
Back then, the Bieszczady Mountains already had a kind of mythical reputation that it was a place with no people. After the resettlements and Operation Vistula, many villages were abandoned, swallowed by the forest. Wild animals roamed freely, wolves, bears, and that's what drew me here, what made me set out on this journey. I became completely captivated by these mountains. They made a huge impression on me. At that time, it was truly empty, none of the buildings you see today. The Bieszczady National Park was still small, only a fraction of today's area. What struck me most was the wildness and the absence of people.
Is the change visible also in the forest?
The beeches, they were enormous, twisted, ancient, since it is a primeval forest. After dark, you'd find yourself glancing over your shoulder, because those beeches almost felt alive. Strange, haunting, bending in creepy shapes.
Living in Bieszczady is not for the weak. If you want to assimilate with this world, you need to toughen up. Wild nature, changeable weather, and difficult conditions make me a good visitor, but not a resident. And yet, looking at people living here, a quote of Friedrich Nietzsche comes to my mind. That what does not kill you makes you stronger. Don't you think that this respect, I would say, rather than fear towards nature, should be kept?
We are part of this nature, aren't we? As people, we should stay connected to it. But human nature is that of a conqueror. We want to dominate, to control everything. In truth, it's nature that rules over us, not the other way around. We only think we can change it until a catastrophe comes and we're reminded how helpless we really are.
What did you learn from nature?
Definitely patience, because to achieve something here, it takes not weeks, but months, sometimes years. I've lived here for more than 40 years now. Over that time, I've managed to build something, but it wasn't quick. It took years of work, and only now you can start seeing results. When I first came here, there was only forest, nothing else. But with time, things slowly have been taking shape.
We mainly associate luck with coincidence, but for me, it's rather a matter of persistence and perseverance. Because you are lucky when you have an idea in your head and you carry on with it, sometimes even pushing through despite the obstacles. Because luck is getting a chance from life, and happiness is being able to savor it. What made a boy from Łódź come to Bieszczady and stay here?
When I saw this nature, I fell in love with it immediately. I never planned to stay here. I just came to see the mountains, to live among them for a while. But then the years passed, and I started thinking about how to make this place my home, how to build something of my own here, start a family, and simply live.
From time to time, running away from our busy lives, we have a chance to explore such marvelous places as Bieszczady. But visiting, let's not alter them, change or adjust. Let's permit nature have her way. She knows her business better than we do. Do zobaczenia.